Do you know that feeling when you call that 15th FSBO call and you get rejected? The homeowner yells at you and they're like, basically, get away from my phone. Or that slight dread right before listing appointment where you kind of know that it's going to be very, very, very difficult conversation. You have to justify yourself. You have to show your value, right? And you know already that the commission is going to be like 1% or try to go after that price cut, try to take away some of your money. Now, I've talked to a lot of real estate agents, right? I've talked to thousands and thousands of real estate agents during the last 7 years. And I basically noticed two types of real estate agents. Like one real estate agent is that kind of situation where they talk to the homeowner and they basically like just try to get like the most lowest price, right? They try to basically get all the benefits or price the property. But then I also talk to other real estate agents where the experience is actually very different. I mean, the experience like being a realtor is one where the homeowner sends them a message and they're like, "Oh my God, I really want to work with you. Like, I really want to hire you. Come on and come to my house and please sign a listing agreement," right? And there's two kinds of different realities, right? When you think about these are basically different jobs at that point, right? You have one person that's basically struggling to get a tiny commission. They're struggling to get a client. They're struggling to get any kind of business. Even a $300,000 listing, it's the hardest thing in the world. And for the other realtor, they just go ahead to an $800,000 price property, right? And they're like, "Hey, I want to work with you." Like they're basically signing the agreement, right? Now, I always wondered is, and this is obviously a pattern in many of the businesses out there, right? If you look at thriving businesses, you look at Apple, right? People go ahead and they just buy an iPhone. While some other businesses, right, they have to put all these features, they have to lower price, right? The margins are very tight. It's very, very difficult to run. So let's talk about what this comes down to and how you can actually be that realtor that's attraction based, right? Where people want to work with you, they come to you, they ask you for a listing appointment, they ask you for a listing. So let's go ahead and dive straight to it. The reason why most people actually experience that as a real estate agent, right, where they're having to struggle, right? They have to drop through commissions, they have to chase people, they have to filter through people, they have to justify their value, right? All these things. The reason why that's happening is because of the way they're positioning themselves in the marketplace. So easiest way to kind of think about this is again going back to that analogy between Apple, right, and all the other smartphones. So if you are that cheap Android smartphone, you're just gonna have to be in that frame of, hey, I have to justify my value, I have to do all these things. But if you are Apple, right, people don't care. They're just gonna buy the iPhone for whatever the price is, and you're always gonna have a certain amount of people that are gonna pay the premium. So in a similar way, when you think about your positioning as a real estate agent, what you want to position yourself as is going to be that Apple, right? And when you are Apple, you're basically in the context of real estate, positioning yourself to be not a salesperson. You're positioning yourself to be a trusted guide. So you're positioning yourself to be more valuable than the salespeople. So by default, people are going to be more attracted to work with you. Now, a lot of people struggle with this because they hear things like, hey, you need to provide value, right? You need to be building relationships, but they actually don't know the specifics of like, okay, how to actually do this? Like, what are the step by steps? Like, steps number one, steps number two, how to actually start to be that trusted advisor. And let's talk about this. So, first thing I'm going to talk about is that the fact that most people that actually are not aware that they are that salesperson. So most people think that, hey, I am a trusted advisor. Actually, last week I helped my cousin sell their house, so I am a trusted advisor, right? So a lot of people are not actually aware that they are that sales realtor, the stinky guy that tries to get that commission, right? They're not aware that this is the impression people actually have. So most people they are trusted advisors, but most people actually are not. So only about, I would say 20% of realtors are trusted advisor. Now, the way you can check this is right now, the very first test you can do is the way you communicate online. So right now, this is something I do every single time I hop on something called a strategy call with a prospective client of ours. Somebody wants to work with us, they hop on this call. The very first thing I always do is I look them up on social media. So I open up their Facebook, I open up their LinkedIn, I open up their YouTube, and I just see like, okay, what is this person posting? Like, what are the posts? And ultimately, for most people, this is the case for 90% of real estate agents, is actually their content is spamming generic content. So there's things like automated articles, there's things like automated social media content, or it's just a bunch of call to actions. So you have just listed, just sold, You have things like market updates that are basically just aimed at getting people to call you, right? So right now, if you're using something from your brokerage, right, and again, and let's not flame brokerages, right? There's a lot of great brokerages out there, but a lot of brokerages, they are outdated, right? They're posting things or they're doing things from a point of view of brokerage, right, where it's beneficial for a brokerage, but it's not really beneficial for the realtor, right? But let's look at your content, right? And right now, if you open up your Facebook, you open up your LinkedIn, and if you go to your posts and you have a lot of content like I just showed you or I just told you, right? You are being presented as that stinky sales commission realtor, right? And so most people are not aware of this, where the homeowner, the lead that you generate right now from your Zillow, the lead you generate from your Facebook ads, whatever ads you're running, or whatever way of lead generation you have, they are going to look you up on social media and they're going to make a judgment. Hey, how good you are at the marketing, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what you're selling, right? You're selling to sell the house for the highest possible price, right? And go through that transaction together. So, right now, if you go to social media and you see this kind of content, that's the first red flag for the homeowner is if you don't know how to do social media marketing yourself. Because again, let's face it, most of the things they are digital nowadays, right? Things are happening with video, things are happening with this kind of content. So, what is that realtor that then gets those messages like, hey, I want to work with you. I want to sell my house with you. Like, I want to hire you as my real estate agent. Well, these people are completely different, right? They have zero automated content. They have no spammy call to actions. They have no generic content. Actually, when you look at their content on social media, a lot of the times it's things like valuable things. So, as an example, if you go on YouTube, people post lifestyle related content, right? So, they're actually putting a lot of effort, they're creating videos, right? And it's not easy to create a good video, right? If you ever try to create a video, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you have to come up with the idea, you have to come up with the script, you have to have the equipment, right? But all those things show to the homeowner like, hey, this person cares. Like this person's, gives a fuck basically, right? About marketing. They care about this. So they're gonna care about selling my house, right? So if it comes out to Facebook, right, they have posts about themselves. They're not hiding behind the curtains. They're not hiding themselves, right? They're putting out personal stories. They're sharing local insights. They're sharing different client experiences they've had. And as funny as it sounds, even though this kind of seems obvious, like telling client experience, most people don't do this. Most people don't have client stories, client reviews, pictures with clients. But the fact that you can show a picture with you and your client will show to the homeowner that, hey, this person does such great work that this homeowner actually lets them take a picture. And as small thing as it sounds, when a homeowner sees that, right, it's going to immediately position you completely differently from everybody else. Because again, let's remember the default, right, is just trying to go after transaction, try to think about your own benefit, right? So when you can show that, hey, I'm thinking about others, it's really going to make a huge difference. Now, another test you can do is when you go ahead and look up your past 30 posts, is you can actually see whether you're using posts about yourself, where let's say you're helping a client or you are in the picture yourself, right? It's authentic to you. Or if you're using kind of like an easy way out style content, right? Like where let's say you have a stock image or you have a picture you've taken from Google or something like this, right? Because that ultimately creates that again perception for the homeowner, like, hey, is this person that goes all the way through, right? They take the picture themselves, they put in the work, they put in the effort, or will this be the person that kind of like takes the easy way out, right? You just take the easiest thing, you go on Google, you take a picture, which is like a stock image. All these things are very subtle, but they're really not that subtle, right? I mean, ultimately, you create an image about yourself and you show through your actions what kind of person you are. And again, it's very subtle. It's not difficult to take your own image, but if you put a little bit of effort, people will start to pick up on that as well. Now, with that being said, the third one is stories you tell. So actually, a lot of the times when people get past this first initial stage, right, when they're able to put themselves out there, right, they're able to go from taking value to giving value. And the next stage from here of evolution basically is where you start to get business. And now at that point, if you start to get, let's say, 20, 30, 50 deals a year or more than this, for some reason, this happens all the time in real estate where people start to want to show off, right? So basically, the content becomes this kind of a thing where we talk about awards, right? We talk about so many houses sold, and now it's 50 houses sold. And basically, the whole marketing becomes this kind of like showing off type of thing where people for suddenly for some reason they start to think that they need to start to show off their wealth or success, whatever. And of course, there's an element to that, right? You want to showcase that through your clothing, right? You want to have good clothing, you want to have a good car. Like, I mean, all of that, it's true. You want to show it off because it is going to make you show off to be better realtor, right, more successful, that is all good. But at some point, you're gonna hit a point where the content, the marketing just becomes about showing off. And this is not something most successful realtors actually do, right? If you go on people like Rod Sherhan's page on Instagram, right? This is one of the most successful realtors in the world, has very large social media presence. He doesn't really show off. He doesn't really start to drive Lamborghini or something like this, right? He's actually still showing off pictures of him being in the property. He's showing off him helping the clients. He's showing him helping realtors, right? Helping real estate agents. So he's still showing these things. Well, there's some people that, whatever, they make a couple 100,000, right? And now they're suddenly the biggest thing in the world, right? And this guy makes millions and millions of dollars every year. I mean, he makes millions of dollars for just one property, right? So start talking about the client transformation, right? Start talking about the work you actually do. Start talking about helping the people. So instead of making your marketing about you, realize that the homeowner, the home buyer, right, they are the hero. Make them the hero. Because ultimately, what they want to hear about is them, right? The homeowners, they don't really care about your real estate business at the end of the day, right? They care about themselves. So showcase you helping the clients, showcase you being behind the scenes, tell different stories about how you went through a very difficult real estate transaction. One of the good examples from Ryan's book, I remember I was reading this book of his, Sell It Like Sherhand. He was talking about how he had this billionaire from another country. It was like China or Russia or something like this. He had this billionaire, right? And he reached out to this billionaire through email, and he actually flew. I think that was Dubai or something. He flew on a plane to Dubai to follow up with his client. And one of those things you can do, again, for you, you're not going to fly to Dubai. You're not going to have a Russian billionaire, most likely, or a Chinese billionaire, right? But you're going to have similar situations like this where maybe it wasn't so easy, right? It wasn't just a situation where your local friend wanted to sell your house. You had to go a couple steps beyond the initial things, but showcase and tell stories about that. And again, it doesn't have to be right now. Maybe you had a situation like this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Start telling those difficult situations, difficult transactions where you still open all the way through, you put in the effort, you put in the work. And again, in the homeowner's mind, right, a lot of that objection where the realtor is just going to take away my money, right? They're just going to run away and they're not going to do anything. They're going to be lazy, right? A lot of that objection actually goes away, right? And it opens up that door where people then want to pay that commission, they want to work with you, pay the full price, and again list the house at whatever trusted advisor kind of like mode you gave them, right? So ultimately, at the end of the day, these are all very tiny things, and this is not something anybody talks about in real estate marketing, right? Everybody talks about Facebook ads, everybody talks about content, TikTok, everybody talks about buying leads, getting leads. And this is all fine. But if your positioning is bad, you're always going to be stuck in that chasing mode, right? You're trying to go after somebody, try to chase them, and they're running away. So if you position yourself well, you're going to be in a mode where people actually chase you, right? They want to buy your services. They want to go after working with you. They pay the full price. And then they listen to your advice, right? But you already built that trust. You already built that reputation in their minds. So everybody talks about Facebook ads. Everybody talks about buying leads from Zillow. Everybody talks about buying some sort of software or a tool, right? But nobody talks about this. And these are all subconscious layers that are happening beneath the communication that nobody really picks up on, but it's still happening. And everybody knows this subconsciously, right? Everybody knows that broker or that realtor in your office, right, that's getting all these deals, right, without doing anything crazy, right? This is exactly how they're doing. So we want to start paying attention to your social media marketing. You want to pay attention to your online presence and truly build that situation where instead of being that traditional realtor, you are becoming that modern agent that's able to take advantage of the technology, able to take advantage of the changes. And again, that way you will be the safe, obvious choice for the homeowner. So stop showing up as the salesy agents and start showing up as the modern agent.